General Thomas S. Moorman, Jr. has been an influential change agent and a driving force behind the United States military's successful transition into space. Today, along with Air Force legends including General James E. Hill and General James Hardinger, Tom Moorman is known as one of the key architects of Air Force Space Command.
Tom's the guy that helped push space and make it a real part of the Air Force.
And he was the key as we started to operationalize a lot in support of the day-to-day warfighting needs of the rest of the United States Air Force, as well as the rest of the military.
As one of the top minds in the intelligence community, General Moorman is known not only as a risk-taker who pushed space technology forward, but as a people person who got outstanding results from his team.
He understands people, he cares about people, and is courteous and understands that people have their limitations, yes, but they also have their strengths, and he soaks it all in and provides excellent input.
Tom Moorman was born into a family of leaders. His father, Lieutenant General Thomas S. Moorman, Sr., was a respected Air Force officer who served in Europe during World War II and was a commander of the 13th Air Force and vice commander of Pacific Air Forces during the Korean War. Tom Sr. would eventually take the helm of the United States Air Force Academy, with Tom Jr. on hand to offer support. After graduating from Dartmouth College in 1962 with a BA in history and a minor in political science, Tom Jr. followed the family tradition of embracing a military career. It was Tom Sr. who proudly pinned the second lieutenant bars to his son's uniform. Tom Moorman has always been enamored of technology and what technology can do for national security. He served on the original SR-71 cadre, which sparked his interest in technology and reconnaissance and led to many assignments in these specialties. Eventually, he would be named Chief of Staff of the National Reconnaissance Office.
In the early days of missile defense, and he understood the environment, he understood what the hardware could do and how important it was for the operators to understand that, and he helped bring that forward.
He was instrumental in the kinds of systems you see up there. There isn't one up there that Tom Moorman didn't have a hand in some way, shape, or form.
In 1990, General Moorman took on the responsibility of overseeing Air Force Space Command, where he demonstrated that the space domain is just as critical to military operations as air, land, and sea.
And so you had to have a really forceful personality in her to make that kind of stuff happen, and Tom was influential.
Under General Moorman's leadership as commander, Air Force Space Command assumed an unprecedented role, providing resources from the high frontier during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
People were starting to really recognize the end of the Carter administration and the beginning of the Reagan administration, the real advantages of that space brings to not only the United States military, but to all of national security space.
Data from space became integral to the war effort, critical to remote observation, predicting weather conditions, for warning, and for communications.
Tom is a deep thinker, and he has a total knowledge of what is possible and what is not possible in the space and defense world. If you look back at who was behind the scenes, it was Moorman.
Also behind the scenes throughout General Moorman's career was his wife, Barbara. In 1994, she was there reaching for the sky with him as he became Air Force Vice Chief of Staff.
You don't get to the senior leadership positions in the Air Force if it's not a partnership between you and your wife. And Tom has been blessed with Barbara to be his teammate.
The greatest thing about Tom Moorman is Barbara Moorman, so he's, like most of us, married way above himself.
Of the many areas in which General Moorman left his mark on history, perhaps none is more significant than his work in modernizing the national security launch systems of the United States. A plan he envisioned changed the course of the U.S. military in space launch. Now known as the Moorman Report, it resulted in the evolved Expendable Launch Vehicle program and today's modern Delta and Atlas families of rockets.
2, 1. And we have liftoff. of a Boeing Delta II rocket.
Retirement from active duty 3 years later saw the Moormans move to the private sector. General Moorman's experience shaping the nation's space programs led him into a job with Booz Allen Hamilton, managing its space portfolio, being responsible for its Air Force and NASA businesses, and participating in many space studies. General Moorman retired from Booz Allen Hamilton in 2008, leaving behind a distinguished career, but taking with him an undeniable lifelong passion for space.
It's important to remember that Tom Moorman's contribution to national security space didn't just happen while he was in the Air Force. You got to remember, since he retired, he's been intimately involved in all kinds of things.
Space is probably part of his DNA. I mean, he's really stayed on message throughout his career.
When America needed a man who would shape its space program, General Thomas S. Moorman Jr. answered the call. General Moorman was the right man for the job then and now to advise others on its infinite potential.
And I put him right up there with all the greats that have helped us shape the Air Force, and certainly shape the Air Force in space.
He's going to continue to influence, he's going to continue to speak out, and we need him to do that, because when Moorman speaks about space, people listen.
Winning the James Hill Award was a very, very high honor for me. Tom Moorman was the presiding officer at the time I received the award, and that was a real honor for me.
General Thomas S. Moorman Jr. has been a giant in his quest for the betterment of humankind through space exploration. He served on the Space Foundation Board of Directors, and he continues to serve on boards and advisory councils.
I can't think of anybody who's more deserving, anybody who's done more for our space business.
The Air Force is far better off because of your service.
There are many ways to describe Tom Moorman.
High intellect, complete honesty, and speaking truth to power.
Expert, determined leader.
For his years of exemplary leadership and service in both the public and private sectors, the Space Foundation presents the 2012 General James E. Hill Lifetime Space Achievement Award to General Thomas S. Moorman Jr.
We love you, man. Good job.
Moorman is a space visionary. He has been absolutely essential to moving the ball forward in national security space, and for that we thank him.